Hello students, welcome to the logic class. So, we will resume our discussions from fallacies. In the last class, we had discussed the fallacies of causation. Today, we will discuss fallacy of illicit generalization, fallacy of false analogy and ignoratio elenchi. So, as you know, there are three inductions proper: scientific induction, unscientific induction and analogy. So, now when we violate the rules of unscientific induction, we commit the fallacy of illicit generalization. Now, what is this unscientific induction? The induction is known as unscientific because it is not based on law of causation. Unscientific induction is the establishment of the material truth of a general real proposition on the ground of uncontradicted experience in reliance on the law of uniformity of nature. So, this is your unscientific induction. So, here what do? We examine a large number of cases and we do not find any exception. Then we come to the generalization about all. बहुत example आमे देखु कौनसी एक्सेप्शन आमे देखु नाही किंबा कंट्रारी इंस्टेंस आमे देखु नाही. Then we come to the generalization about all. For example, suppose you see some crows. So, when you see the crows, you find all those crows to be black in color. जेते काऊ देखिलो सबु गुड़ाक black color अच्छंती. So, naturally suspicion comes to your mind, are all crows black? Then to confirm this, you start observing the crows. You also read about the crows. Then you ask your friends about the color of the crows. You also ask your friends who are staying abroad about the color of the crows. And all of them they said that all the crows observed so far are black in color. तेणु समस्ते कहले जे जेते काऊ आमे देखिछु सबु गुड़ाक कला. We have not found any exception. We have not seen any contrary instance. That means we have not seen any crow which is of red color or brown color or green color or blue color. We have not seen any contrary instance or exception. And on the basis of this, we come to the conclusion that all crows are black. So, this is your unscientific induction. But sometimes what happens, instead of observing large number of cases, you observe a few instances. बेले बेले कौन हुए तुमे बेसी एग्जाम्पल देखिबनी, बहुत कम एग्जाम्पल तीनटा चारटा एमती इंस्टांस देखिकिरी, then you come to the conclusion. Suppose you are going for some work, then on the way you see a cat and your work is not done. गोटे cat देखिलो तुम काम हैला नाही, and this is repeated 3 or 4 times. Then hurriedly you come to the generalization that whenever you see a cat, then you will meet with failure. That means whenever you are going for some work and you come across a cat, you will meet with failure. जदि गोटे कैट देखिबो ताहेले तुमरो फेल्योर हबो, तुम काम आउ हबो नाही. So, this is your illicit generalization. This is not a proper generalization. जदि एठी कौन होची तुमे तीन चारटा एग्जांपल देखिकरी कंक्लूजन को पळे आसुच किंतु जदि तुमे सपोज 20 30 40 इंस्टांसेस देखि थांत तापरे देखि थांत जे तुमे कैट देखुच बट you are not met with failure. You do not meet with failure. Your work is done. तुमर काम हो जाउची तेणु तुमे एटा न करिकरी you from only a few instances from 4 or 5 instances you hastily come to the generalization. There you commit the mistake and that argument, that conclusion becomes a fallacious fallacious argument. Let us take another example. Suppose a man from America comes to India. He wants to make a survey about the economic standard of the Indians. Indians माने केमिति अछंती, they are rich or poor or how they are, what is the economic standard of Indians. He wants to know. Then he reaches at the Delhi airport. From there he goes to a few families. Then he finds that those families are very rich, they are very affluent. They have all the modern gadgets with them. तांका पाखरे कार अच्छी, गीजर अच्छी, मोबाइल अच्छी, लैपटॉप अच्छी, everything they have. So, and they are leading a very luxurious life. So, the person comes to the conclusion that all Indians are rich. This is wrong. This is a wrong argument. Is it true that all Indians are rich? No. So, se loko kon karibara uchit thila? He should have gone to remote areas of India. He should have come to Odisha. He should have gone to the remote areas of Odisha, to the KBK areas of Odisha. He should have gone to Nagada of Jajpur. Then he should have come to the conclusion. तेणु विभिन्न पार्ट को जाइकरी बहुत गुड़े एग्जाम्पल देखिकरी से कंक्लूजन को आसीबा कथा, बट ही डिड नॉट डू दैट. He did not do that. That is why his conclusion is wrong. से जदि सबुआड़े जाई थांता हुए तो ता कंक्लूजन टा आउ गोटे कंक्लूजन से पाई थांता जे ऑल इंडियंस आर पुअर. सो दिस इज योर fallacy of illicit generalization. Now the next fallacy is fallacy of false analogy. Here analogy also is an induction proper. Here we pass from one particular to another particular based on some resemblances. What is the meaning of analogy? Analogy means partial similarity between two things that are compared. माने दुईटा जिनस अच्छी ताको आमे कंपेयर करूछु आउ से दुईटा थिंग्स होचे दे आर पार्टली सिमिलर, दे आर नॉट कंप्लीटली सिमिलर. जदि कंप्लीटली सिमिलर हे थांते हमर आउ इन्फरेंस करिवार स्कोप ही न थांता. सो दे आर पार्टली सिमिलर. फॉर एग्जांपल two things are there, A and B, and A and B they are similar to each other in certain respects. There are some resemblances between A and B. So, what are the resemblances? A possesses the properties x, y, z and B also possesses the properties x, y, z. So, these A and B, they are similar to each other. There are resemblances between the two. Then we find that A has another further property. A has a further property, that is M. So, we conclude that B also has a further property M. आमे कहिलु A आउ B दुईटा जाक परस्पर सहित सिमिलर. ए रे आउ गोटे प्रॉपर्टी रही एम तेणु जेहेतु दुईटा जाक सिमिलार बी रे मध्य आउ गोटे प्रॉपर्टी रही सेही प्रॉपर्टी एम प्रॉपर्टी रही थाई पारे. So this is your analogy. Now analogy is of two types. One is good analogy, the second is bad analogy. Now what is this good analogy? Good analogy means the resemblances between these two things are more and important in nature. Resemblances or similarities between the two things are more and important in nature. दुईटा भितरे जो रिजेम्ब्लांसेस थिबो सिमिलारिटीज थिबो से गुडा बहुत गुडे सिमिलारिटीज थिबो आ से गुडा का बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट मध्य हेई थिबो. फॉर एग्जांपल मार्स एंड अर्थ मंगल आउ पृथ्वी. There are many similarities between Mars and Earth. Both are planets. Both revolve around the sun. Both receive heat and light from the sun. Both have land and water. Then both have tolerable climate. Then we find all these resemblances between Earth and Mars. Next we find that in Earth there is the presence of living beings. So पृथ्वी रे आमे देखिलु जीवनर सत्ता रहिछि. So we conclude that as both are similar to each other in these respects, that is why Mars may have the presence of life. जेहेतु पृथ्वी रे जीवनर सत्ता रहिछि मंगल रे मध्य जीवनर सत्ता रही पारे कारण दुईटा भितरे बहुत गुडे रिजेम्ब्लांसेस रहिछि सिमिलारिटीज रहिछि. एटा को काहे कि हमें कहूछु जे गुड एनालॉजी बिकॉज द similarities or the resemblances, these are the conditions for the sustenance of the life. ये जो resemblances गुड़ा रहिला both receive heat and light from the sun, both have land and water, both have tolerable climate. These things are essential for the existence of the life. एगुड़ा सबु थिले जीवनर सत्ता रही पारिबो. तेणु जेहेतु एगुड़ाक दुईटारे अच्छी आमे कहूचो आर्थ रे जदि लाइफ अच्छी मार्स रे मध्य लाइफ थाई पारे. सो दिस इज ए केस ऑफ गुड एनालॉजी. नाउ व्हाट इज बैड एनालॉजी? व्हाट इज ए फॉल्स एनालॉजी? व्हेन द रिजेम्ब्लांसेस आर सुपरफिशियल रिजेम्ब्लांसेस, not proper resemblances, those are superficial resemblances and there we get bad analogy. Where the resemblances or similarities are less in number and less important in nature and points of difference are more in number and points of difference are more important in nature, then we have the bad analogy. We have the bad analogy. For example, suppose two boys, they have come to Ravenshaw College to take admission in +2 first year arts. So they have come from the same village. There are many similarities between these two boys. They are of the same height, they are of the same complexion, they have the same hairstyle and they also like the same type of the food. They wear the same type of dresses and they are staying in the same hostel and they have come from the same house. They are twins. They are twins and one of the boys is very brilliant. From this, can you conclude that the other boy is also equally brilliant? तुम्हें कही पारिबो कि no, because these resemblances, these conditions, these similarities, these are not the conditions for intelligence. Height, complexion, food, dresses, these things are not the conditions for intelligence. तेणु जदि जड़े बहुत इंटेलिजेंट से आमे जदि कहिबा जे अदर बॉय आल्सो इज इक्वली इंटेलिजेंट, देन वी विल कमिट ए fallacy, and that is the case of false analogy or bad analogy. Now the next fallacy is extra logical fallacies. Under extra logical fallacies you have fallacy of undue assumption. Fallacy of undue assumption means when we unduly assume a premise, we get this fallacy. Under fallacy of undue assumption, we have two types of fallacies. One is fallacy of petitio principii and second is fallacy of falsity of a premise. Petitio principii mu तुमको आगुरु कहिछि ता विषय रे. We assume that what we want to prove, सेरा already discuss करि सारिछि. Fallacy of falsity of a premise, ता माने कोन? The premise is itself false. When the premise is false, naturally the conclusion also will be false. Let us take one premise. All those who go to hospital are patients. All those who go to hospital are patients. Ram goes to hospital, therefore Ram is a patient. Here you see the first premise, all those who go to hospital are patients. जो माने हॉस्पिटल को जानती समस्ते कौन पेशेंट्स? नो, many people go to hospital for different purposes. Doctors go to hospital, nurses go to hospital, attendants go to hospital, representatives go to hospital, and other people also go to hospital for many purposes. So we cannot say that all those who go to hospital are patients. So this is a wrong premise. So the conclusion also becomes wrong. The conclusion is Ram is a patient. Because Ram goes to hospital, can he be a patient? No, he cannot be a patient. We cannot draw the conclusion that he is a patient. We cannot draw the conclusion. He may be a patient, he may not be a patient. We cannot say, we cannot definitely say that he is a patient. So this is your fallacy of falsity of a premise. Now we will discuss the fallacy of ignoratio elenchi. You must have heard the word ignoratio elenchi on TV. News readers, while reading news, they say that this is a case of ignoratio elenchi. So what does that mean? What is the meaning of ignoratio elenchi? Ignoratio elenchi means ignorance of the refutation of an argument, ignorance of the rejection of an argument. Suppose jane gote argument deichi and you want to reject the argument. तमे चाहूच से argument को refute कर दबो, reject कर दबो, but you are ignorant. You do not know how to reject the argument. से argument को तुमे केमिति reject करिबो, you do not know that. So this is fallacy of ignoratio elenchi. Ignoratio elenchi means ignorance of the refutation of an argument. Now the question is, how one argument is refuted? How one assertion is refuted? केमिति ताकू तमे रेफ्यूट करिवो? गोटे जणे सपोज जणे किछि गोटे कथा कहिछि, आर्ग्युमेंट देछि, तुमे से आर्ग्युमेंट को रिजेक्ट करिबा को चाहुचो, तुमे से आर्ग्युमेंट को फॉल्स बोली कहिबा को चाहुचो, ताले केमिति तुमे से आर्ग्युमेंट को फॉल्स बोली कहिबो? इफ यू आर एबल टू प्रूव इट्स अपोजिट टू बी ट्रू, जदि तार अपोजिट टाकू तमे ट्रू बोली प्रूव करी दबो, ताहेले तुमर आर्ग्युमेंटा फॉल्स हो जाव. So you have to prove its opposite to be true. Opposite माने कौन? Contrary or contradictory. Okay? But sometimes what we do, we do not prove its opposite to be true. तार opposite टाको आमे true बोली prove करू नाही. आमे कौन करू? We prove something else to be true. अपोजिट को प्रूव न करिकरी आमे आउ गोटे किछि जिंस को प्रूव करि दउ एंड वी थिंक बाय दिस वी आर रिफ्यूटिंग द ओरिजिनल आर्ग्युमेंट, वी आर रिफ्यूटिंग, वी आर रिजेक्टिंग द ओरिजिनल असर्शन. दिस इज रॉन्ग, दिस इज fallacy. Okay, suppose one argument is there, A is one argument. You want to prove that A is false. तुमे A को रिजेक्ट करने को चाहूँच. यू वांट टू रिजेक्ट A, यू वांट टू रेफ्यूट A. सो यू हैव टू प्रूव इट्स अपोजिट टू बी ट्रू. A र अपोजिट है नॉट A. यू हैव टू प्रूव नॉट A टू बी ट्रू. बट इंस्टेड ऑफ प्रूविंग नॉट A, you prove something else, like you prove B or C or D to be true, and you think by that you are disproving A. You think by that you are rejecting A. You are rejecting, you are refuting A. This is ignoratio elenchi. So, ignoratio elenchi means ignorance of the refutation of an argument. An argument is refuted or rejected when its contrary or contradictory is proved to be true. But sometimes instead of proving the contrary or contradictory to be true, you prove something else and you think that you have rejected the original argument. This is the fallacy of ignoratio elenchi. Now, Aristotle, by elenchi, Aristotle means the syllogism. Syllogism, the syllogism which will reject the original assertion, the original argument by proving its contrary or contradictory to be true. So, this is the meaning of elenchi according to Aristotle. Now, this ignoratio elenchi is used in an extended sense in everywhere in our common life. When one argues irrelevantly, then he is said to commit the fallacy of ignoratio elenchi. Suppose the issue at hand is B. We want to refute B. We want to reject B. Or suppose you leave this. Suppose you want to prove A. A टाकु तमे prove करिबा को चाहुछ. A को तमे prove करिबा को चाहुछ. Instead of proving A, you prove something else. You prove B, you prove C, you prove M or N. So, when we do like this, then we commit the fallacy of ignoratio elenchi. Here we argue irrelevantly. We do not say anything about that particular issue. We do not focus on that particular issue, rather we prove something else. Okay? So, this is your fallacy of ignoratio elenchi. Now, the first fallacy is argumentum ad hominem, or an argument against the person. This argument is aimed at finding some fault with the opponent rather than refuting his argument on rational grounds. So, here what happens? Suppose a person says something, he gives an assertion or he gives an argument, gote argument se dela, and you are unable to reject his assertion, you are unable to refute his assertion. से गोटे कथा कहला तुमे ताको आउ रिजेक्ट करि पारु ना हो, तमे ताको मीट करि पारु ना हो, रिजेक्ट मोटे ताको करि पारु ना हो. So, what do you do there? You start criticizing the person. You say things against the person. You say things against his habit, against his character, against his motive. You also criticize his parents, you criticize his family background. So, you go on telling against the person and against his family members. So, you start insulting the person. से लोक को तुम इनसल्ट करवा आरंभ कर दियो, ताकू ता विषय रे तार यू डू हिज कैरेक्टर असैसिनेशन, तार चरित्र संहार तुम करिवो जे भलो लोक नुहे, ये भलो नुहे, ता मोटिव भलो नुहे, ता बापा माँ भलो नुहे, एमती टाइप रे गो ऑन क्रिटिसाइजिंग द पर्सन. सो बाय दिस व्हाट डू यू डू? You try to divert the attention from the original argument. Original argument to तमे divert करी दोछ attention and you are trying to demoralize the person. तमे जेतेबेले से लोक अगेंस्ट एते कथा कहिबो, से लोक आउ से पोजीशन ने थिबो कि तुमको किछि कहिबा पई. He will not even a position to say anything. आउ किछि कहि परिबनी, he will leave the place. से आउ किछि कहि परिबनी. For example, suppose a person comes and he gives an argument in favor of family planning. He says one should have only one child or two children. जनकर गोटे छुआ हवा दरकार नले दीटा छुआ हवा दरकार. Then what do? You laugh at the person. You say, अरे you have fathered 11 children, you have a cricket team at home and you are saying in favor of the family planning. Don't you feel bad? Don't you feel insulted? If you say like this, so what will the person say? He will feel shy, he will feel insulted and he will leave the place. Okay? So, this is your argumentum ad hominem. Suppose one person comes and he says against smoking and against drinking. से कहिबो पीबा भलो नुहे आउ स्मोकिंग करिबा भी भलो नुहे, because it has its evil effects. It will deteriorate your health and it will ruin you financially, it will also ruin you morally. So, he will say all the evil effects of the drinking and the smoking. Then what will you do? The person will start saying that, oh, you are a great drunkard and you are a chain smoker, and what right you have got to say against drinking and smoking? तू तो निजे एते पिउछु, तू तो निजे गोटे घोड़ा मधुआ, तू गोटे चेन स्मोकर, तू आर इविल इफेक्ट्स विषय रे कौन कहूछु, तू कौन कहूछु आर अगेंस्ट रे. Then the person will not be able to utter a single word, he will leave that place. Okay? This is how you defeat the person. किंतु एटी इश्यू कौन? इश्यू होचे evil effects of drinking and smoking. Evil effects of drinking and smoking. But you do not say anything, you do not reject the evil effects of the drinking and the smoking. You do not say anything about that, you do not refute that, you just criticize the person, you insult the person, then the person goes away. Okay? So, this is your argumentum ad hominem or an argument against the person. Now, the next fallacy is argumentum ad populum. This means the argument that appeals to emotions, that appeals to emotions. So, here who use these type of arguments? Usually political speakers, political leaders and spiritual spiritual preachers, they use these type of arguments. Why do they use this? Because they want to motivate the people and they want the support of the masses. They want to take the people to their side. So, they appeal to the emotion, they appeal to the passion, they appeal to the prejudice of the people. Then they also use the persuasive language and they persuade the people to come to their side. They use explosive language, they use inciting language, and their sole aim is to take people to their side. So, this is your argumentum ad populum. Okay. I will give you one example. All of you must have known Darwin. He was a great scientist. Darwin was a great scientist. He propagated his theory of evolution. Se tankara theory of evolution pai famous. When he propagated his theory of evolution, he had his critics, he had his opponents. Then what happened? His opponents, they went to the public. ସେମାନେ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କ ପାଖକୁ ପଳେଇଲେ and they started telling things against Darwin. Darwin ka against କହିବାରେ ଲାଗିଲେ. They said, do you know that person is not a good person, that person is not at all a scientist, and you know that person is telling things against our religion. And what does he say? He says the whole human race are the children of the monkeys. That means your ancestors were monkeys, your forefathers were monkeys. So, the opponents started telling like this. And who will tolerate things against their ancestors, against their forefathers? तुमर पूर्वपुरुष मानक एगेन्स्ट जदि किए लोक कहिबो निश्चिंत भावरे तुमर बापांकर बापा कि तांको बापा तांको एगेन्स्ट रे कहिले निश्चिंत भावरे तुमे रागी जिवो and you will be either beat the person or you will drive away the person. You will get angry, and that thing happened, and this enraged the people like anything. People got very angry and all of them they went to the street. सबू रास्ता को पड़े आसिले. दे स्टार्टेड गिविंग स्लोगन्स एगेन्स्ट डार्विन. समस्त डार्विन का एगेन्स्ट स्लोगान देले. देन डार्विन वाज सो डिस्टर्ब्ड and he felt so nervous that he had to change his theory. He brought in the concept of God as the creator of first life. माने एते अपोजिशन हैला जे डार्विन तांका कॉन्सेप्ट को चेंज करले कहले फर्स्ट लाइफ रो क्रिएटर होचंती गॉड. सो दिस इज योर आर्गुमेंटम ad populum. Here we appeal to the emotion, we appeal to the passion, we appeal to the prejudice of the people. Why? Because we need the support of the people. So this is argumentum ad populum. Then argumentum ad verecundium, or an argument in reverence for authority. This is also a fallacious argument. You know, we have deep respect for our scriptures. We have deep respect for Bhagavad Gita, we have deep respect for Quran, for Bible, we have also respect for some great leaders, for some scientists, for some great men like Einstein, Raman Maharshi, Mahatma Gandhi. We have respect, we have profound respect for them. So, what we do? We quote their words and we argue in favor of that thing, in favor of those things. सेमाने जहाँ कहिचंती सेटा को आमे कोट करिवु, कोट करिकरी आमे कहिवु एटा सीए कहिचंती तेणु एटा करेक्ट. We will not give any reason for that. This is a fallacious argument. We will not give any reason for that. We will not argue on rational ground. Suppose we will say, you know, Gandhiji was taking goat's milk. And Gandhiji was such a great man and he was taking goat's milk, means goat's milk must be very good for the health. So, we should not take cow's milk, all of us should take goat's milk. आमे समस्ते गाई क्षीर खाइबा उचित नुहे छेली क्षीर खाइबा कारण गांधीजी खाउथिले सो दिस इज व्हाट सो वी quote their words and we argue in favor of that. Suppose let us take another example. We should not criticize our caste system. आम कास्ट सिस्टम को आम क्रिटिसाइज करवा ना कास्ट सिस्टम कौन आम जो ब्राह्मण क्षत्रिय वैश्य शूद्र चारिटा कास्ट रही वी शुड नॉट कंडेम वी शुड नॉट क्रिटिसाइज आवर कास्ट सिस्टम्स व्हाई because it is in our scripture, it is in the Bhagavad Gita. Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita has said that I have created the 4 castes. So we should not criticize caste system. If we criticize, then we will go against our scriptures. That means we will go against our God, because the scripture has originated from the God. आमे कहिबा कास्ट सिस्टम आमे क्रिटिसाइज करिबा नाही कारण सेटा हमर भगवत गीता रे अछि आमे कोट करि दोछु आउ आर्ग्यू करूछु इन फेवर ऑफ दैट बट वी डू नॉट गिव एनी रीजन फॉर दैट कौन सी रीजन दोनो काहे कि आमे एक्सेप्ट करिबा व्हाई शुडंट वी क्रिटिसाइज द कास्ट सिस्टम कास्ट सिस्टम ता काहे कि भलो किबा खराब ता पाई आमे कौन सी आर्ग्यूमेंट दो ना हो आमे कहूँ आम स्क्रिप्चर अच्छे तेणु आमे बिलीव करवा सो दिस इज योर फालासियस आर्ग्यूमेंट दिस इज योर फालासियस आर्ग्यूमेंट दिस इज ए फालासी वी डू नॉट गिव एनी रीजन फॉर दैट सो दिस इज योर आर्ग्यूमेंटम आड भेरिकुंडियम नाउ द नेक्स्ट फालासी इज argumentum ad ignorantium or argument from ignorance. This is also a fallacious form of argument in which we throw the burden of disproof on the opponent. आ माने कौन सपोज मु गोटे किछि कहिली आई मेक एन असर्शन मु गोटे आर्ग्यूमेंट देली देन मु कहिली व्हाट एवर आई हैव सेड इज करेक्ट मु जहा कहूची सेटा ठीक देन आई विल टेल माय ओपोनेंट जे ओपोनेंट मोर थिबो मो एगेंस्ट जे थिबो ताकू कहिबे जे इफ यू थिंक आई एम रॉन्ग देन कम एंड रिजेक्ट माय स्टेटमेंट तू रिजेक्ट कर मु जहा कहिछि रिजेक्ट कर जदि मु भूल ताहले तू रिजेक्ट कर मु कहूछि एटा ठीक आ जदि तू भाबुछु जे मु भूल करिछि ताहले यू कम एंड रिजेक्ट माय स्टेटमेंट and he does not know how to reject the statement, he does not know how to refute the argument. So here what will happen, I will take the advantage of his ignorance, he is ignorant, I will take the advantage of his ignorance and I will say that whatever I have said is correct. मु ताकू कहिबी मु जहा कहिछि तू ताकू रिजेक्ट कर एंड सी जानिनी से इग्नोरेंट से जानिनी जे केमती रेफ्यूट करिवो केमती रिजेक्ट करिवो तेणु मु कोन करबी तार इग्नोरेंस रा एडवांटेज नै करी मु कहिबी मु जहा कहिछि सेटा ही ठीक ओके दिस इज योर आर्गुमेंटम आड इग्नोरेंसियम सपोज आई विल से गॉड एक्जिस्ट्स आई से दैट गॉड एक्जिस्ट्स इफ you want to refute, if you think that I am wrong, then come and refute my statement, come and reject my statement. And the person does not know how to reject the statement. से जानी केमिति रिजेक्ट करिवो तेणु मु कोन कहबी मु कहबी यस गॉड एक्जिस्ट दिस इज ट्रू आ गोटे जस्ट एग्जांपल दोचे यू मस्ट हैव सीन दैट व्हेन इलेक्शन अप्रोचेस द पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स they go to their constituencies, they hold meetings, they address the people. Suppose one political leader has gone to his constituency and he says, he addresses the people and he says, you know, I have done such and such things for my constituency, mo constituency pai mu eya सब करिछि. He goes on giving a long list of his works done by him. से कहबो मु एतटा इंदिरा आवास देइछि, एतटा उज्ज्वला योजना रे गैस देइछि, एते मु रोड कंस्ट्रक्शन करिछि, शेल्टर हाउस तैयारी करिछि, एमान एते के जन को राशन कार्ड देइछि, एते के जन को बीपीएल कार्ड देइछि, एते जन को मु फाइनेंशियली हेल्प करिछि, मेडिकल रे एते के जन को हेल्प करिछि. So there is a long list of his work. Then he says that whatever I have said is correct. If any of you think that I am wrong, then come and refute my statement, reject my statement. If you will be able to reject any of the items I have said, then I will not contest in the election, I will take sannyasa from my political life, and throughout my life I will never contest any election. से कहब तमे प्रूव कर जदि मु किछि रॉन्ग कहिछि आस मते रॉन्ग बोली कुह जदि रॉन्ग बोली कहिदब मु आउ केबे इलेक्शन लड़ीबिनी पॉलिटिकल कैरियर रु पूरा पूरी सन्यास नहीं जीबी एठी कोन हुए लोक माने पीपल डू नॉट नो व्हाट ही हैज डन constituency is a big constituency, so people do not know what he has done किछि जानि नांती लोक माने they are ignorant, so they are unable to reject his statement से माने reject करि परिबेनी. So the political leader will say that whatever I have said is correct. This is your argumentum ad ignorantium. That means here one takes the advantage of the ignorance of the other people, other person, and says that whatever he has said is correct. Then argumentum ad baculum or argument by appeal to force. This is actually not an argument, it is only an application of physical force. The principle is might is right. Suppose two boys are arguing, दुई जन आर्ग्यू करुछन्ते. जेतेबेले दुई जन आर्ग्यू करुछन्ते, गोटे बॉय वन बॉय सेज समथिंग, गोटे जिनस कहिला. द अदर बॉय इज अनेबल टू रिजेक्ट दैट असर्शन. से ताको आउ रिजेक्ट करि परिला नाही, फॉल्स बोली कहि परिला नाही. So what will he do? He will just give 2 or 3 blows on his face. ताको दी तीनटा मुथ मारिबो. तापरे कोन हबो? The other boy will be left bleeding and crying. So he will not be in a position to say anything. Then the other boy will say that I have won. I have won because he has used the physical force. And जेतेबेले फिजिकल फोर्स अप्लाई कला सेतेबेले आरो लोकटा आ किछि करि परिबनी. जेतेबेले तुमको जणे पूरा पिटा पिटी करिवो, गोटे बाड़ी धरि करी पिटिबो, तापरे तुमे आ किछि कहि परिबो कि किछि कहि परिबोनी. तुमे सेइठु केमिति दौड़ी करी पळेइबो सेही सुजोग तुमे देखिबो. सेम जिंस. दिस इज आर्गुमेंटम ad baculum. Okay, now this is actually an application of the physical force, but physical force is not an argument. This is not an argument. So here we use some physical tricks. तमे मु गोटे कहिबी तमे माने अध्या देखिथिबो, पेपर रे पढिथिबो, बहुत जगह रे सेमती हुए. Suppose one political leader has come from Delhi. He is a very good orator. So he comes to a particular place to address the people, and people also want to listen to that person. लोक माने सबू ता कथा सुनिबा को चाहउछंती because he is a very good speaker. So people from far flung areas are thronging the place. There is a huge gathering. बहुत लोक भर्ती हेचंती, बहुत जगार लोक भर्ती हेचंती, and से लोक स्पीच दोचे. When this thing occurs, the opposition party members, what will they do? They will appreciate? No, they will give claps. No, they get afraid. से माने डरी जिवे. काहेकि ना जदि एते लोक गदा होइचंती ताहले से पार्टी सबुतक भोट नहीं जीवो, आमे आउ भोट पाइबोनी. सो व्हाट विल दे डू? दे थिंक ऑफ ए प्लान. से माने कोन करिवे? दे विल ब्रिंग ए बुल, गोटे षंढ को आनिबे, एंड ताकू किछि लिकर पियाई देबे. पियाई दे करी दे विल लीड दैट बुल इनटू द मीटिंग ग्राउंड. मीटिंग ग्राउंड को ताकू छाड़ी देबे. जेतेबेले लोक माने गोटे मारणा षंढ को ता भितरे देखिबे, लोक मानकर अवस्था कोन हबो? They will sit there and listen to the speaker? No, all of them will get afraid, all of them will be horrified, and they will start leaving the place. They will start running here and there. समस्ते सेठु पळेबे. माने तापरे देखिबो there will be not a single person on the in the ground. केही जणे भी नथिबे, ऑडियंस रे जणे भी नथिबे. If there will be no one in the audience, then where will be the meeting? Meeting also cannot be held. Meeting also हे परिबनी. Meeting out जेहेतु लोक नाहंती meeting आसीबनी. Meeting will come to an end. So this is fallacy of argumentum ad baculum or argument by appeal to force. Then argumentum ad misericordiam or an appeal to pity. एठी कौन हुए? Suppose a person says something. and he wants the other person should accept his assertion, should accept his conclusion. से चाहिए जे मु जहाँ कहूँ सेटा अलगा लोकटा एक्सेप्ट करू को ग्राउंड रे एक्सेप्ट करिवो it means appeals to pity. He will appeal to pity. He will try to evoke the sympathy of the other person. Sympathy draw करिबा को चाहिबो. Suppose one boy, one student, he has appeared the examination and he has not done well in the examination. परीक्षा रे भलो करिनी से फेल हे जिवो. So से कोन करिवो? He pleads to the teacher that sir, I hail from a poor family. My parents are bedridden. Please give me pass mark in the examination. If I do not pass this year, in the next year, I will not be able to fill up the form because of want of money. से कहबो मो बापा माँ का मो बहुत गरीब फैमिली रू आसी बापा माँ बेड रिडन आउ मते पास मार्क दे दियंतु जदि मते पास मार्क न देबे नेक्स्ट ईयर मो फॉर्म फिलअप करि परिबिनी कि मो आउ पास करि परिबि नाही. So this is argumentum ad misericordiem. किंतु ये जो जिनस गुड़ा poverty, ill health of the parents, these are these conditions are responsible for getting good marks. ये जो conditions गुड़ा कौन good marks में responsible हबो कि नुहे. These are not the conditions for giving good marks. If he has done well in the examination, he will get good marks. If he has not done well in the examination, he will not get good marks. जदि भलो करिछि परीक्षा रे पाइबो, भलो न करिछि पाइबो नाही. So this is your argumentum ad misericordiam. Then fallacy of non sequitur or what does not follow. It is also called the fallacy of consequent, affirming the consequent. एटा मु आगुरु तुमको कहिछि मानेकर hypothetical proposition गोटे अछि. In a hypothetical proposition there is one antecedent, there is one consequent. Rule कौन? By affirming the antecedent we affirm the consequent. एटा होछि rule. If there is sun then there is light. एटा हला hypothetical proposition. I will say if there is sun, in the minor premise I will say there is sun, in the conclusion I will say that there is light. Surya achi tenu aloko achi. This is a valid argument. Conclusion follows from the premises. But if I argue in the reverse order, then that will be a fallacious argument. Tamane by affirming the consequent, if you affirm the antecedent, then you will commit a fallacy. If there is sun, then there is light. There is light, therefore there is sun. Light achi. Does that mean that there is sun? No. Ratire light nahi. Ratire light achi, but there is no sun. We get light from different sources. From lantern we get light, from light from candle we get light. Then from moon also we get light. तेणु light अच्छी बोली आमे कहि परिबनी जे sun अच्छी. So this is a fallacious argument. Then fallacy of hysteron proteron. It means putting the last before the first. गोटे ऑर्डर अच्छी, गोटे ऑर्डर रे सब बेले फास्ट रे रुहे, लास्ट रे रुहे. But if we reverse the order, then we will commit a fallacy. माने लास्ट को फर्स्ट रे आनिबा, फर्स्ट को लास्ट रे आनिबा. This will be the fallacy of hysteron proteron. This is also called fallacy of putting the cart before the horse. Putting the cart before the horse. Usually आमे कौन करूँ? First we bring the horse, after that we put the cart. प्रथमे घोड़ा को आनिबो, ताकू से गाड़ी सहित लगेइबो, then the horse will drive the cart will move. This is the usual order. एमती भाव रे करू, किंतु सेमिति न करिकरी आमे जदि प्रथमे कार्ट को आनिबो, प्रथमे we will get the cart, then we will put the horse. No result will be there. Cart will not move. So this is fallacy of hysteron proteron. You know that in an argument, first we state the premises, then we state the conclusion. Conclusion follows from the premises. But instead of doing this, if we first state the conclusion, then we state the premises, then it will create utter confusion. सब बेले आग प्रेमिस कहबो तापरे कंक्लूजन कहबो किंतु सेया न करी करी जदी प्रथमे कंक्लूजन कहबो तापरे प्रेमिस कहबो ताहले कंफ्यूजन हे जिवो. So this is fallacy of hysteron proteron. Then fallacy of shifting the ground. This fallacy arises when one shifts his ground from time to time to prove his point. Suppose from your house your mobile is stolen, तमरो मोबाइल टा चोरी हे गला. Then you say who has done this? Then you doubt that your servant must have stolen the mobile. तुम घरर जे सर्वेंट अच्छे सीए बोधे नहीं जाइथिबो. Then you say that this servant is the thief. Then you search his house, then you search his belongings, but you do not find the mobile. Then what do? ताकू सर्च कला ता घर सर्च कला तमे मोबाइल पाइलो नाही. Then you shift your stand. तुम स्टैंड चेंज कर दला. तमे कहिलो this servant's parents are thieves. So he has come from a family of thieves. So this servant must be the thief. He must have stolen my mobile. तमे कहला ता पेरेंट्स होचंती थीव्स तेणु ए सर्वेंट मध्य थीप हेतिबो ता छडा आ किए चोरी करिवो सिए ही चोरी करथिबो. जनक पेरेंट्स जदि थीप हेले ता माने कोन पुओ भी थीप होबो सेमति त नाही. वी कैन नॉट कंक्लूड दिस. सो this is what you do. You shift your stand and you think that you can prove your point in a better manner. Then after that, even if you do not if you are not able to locate your mobile, if you do not get the mobile, then you immediately shift your stand to something else. So this will go on, because you think that if I will shift my stand, then I can prove my point in a better way. So this is fallacy of shifting the ground. So today we discussed fallacy of illicit generalization, fallacy of false analogy, then extralogical fallacies, fallacy of petitio principii, fallacy of falsity of a premise, then fallacy of ignoratio elenchi. Mu tammanunku कहली what do you mean by ignoratio elenchi? Pode question what is ignoratio elenchi? So you have to write what is ignoratio elenchi. Then argumentum ad hominem. What is the meaning of argumentum ad hominem? That is argument against the person. Then argumentum ad populum. This means the argument that appeals to emotion. एई word गुड़ा मने रखिबो, that appeals to emotion. आउ तार example मध्य मने रखिबो. Then argumentum ad verecundium or argument in reverence for authority. Then argumentum ad ignorantium or argument from ignorance. Okay, तेणु पढ़िबो जदि argumentum ad ignorantium, the meaning of this argument from ignorance. Then what is argumentum ad baculum? That is argument by appeal to force. एगुड़ा सब बहुत important fallacy. आउ ignoratio elenchi बहुत important, सब बेले परीक्षा रे पड़े तुमरो आउ तुमर क्वेश्चन गुड़ा देखि दबो. Argumentum ad misericordiam an appeal to pity. Then fallacy of non sequitur. पढ़िबो what does not follow is known as dash, that fallacy of non sequitur. Then fallacy of hysteron proteron. Then fallacy of shifting the ground. So all these fallacies, your deductive fallacies, inductive fallacies I have discussed. Now I will tell you some questions and answer also. You advise me that I should not smoke, but you are a chain smoker. What is this fallacy? Fallacy of argumentum ad hominem. Thus, there is ample proof of the truth of the Bible. All those who refuse to accept the truth will burn in hell. And एठी आमे कोन करूछु, we threaten the person. That is why this is fallacy of baculum. Of course, there are no extraterrestrial living beings. Nobody has shown any proof that they exist. एटा हला argumentum ad ignorantium. Isaac Newton was a genius and he believed in God, so God exists. This is fallacy of argumentum ad verecundium. My parents are poor and ailing, so please give me pass mark in the subject. This is fallacy of argumentum ad misericordiam. Well, I am going to continue to believe that there is life on Mars and that they visit us regularly unless you can prove otherwise. So, this is your fallacy of argumentum ad ignorantium. No fish is a mammal, no salmon is a mammal, therefore, all salmons are fish. So, this is a case of from two negative premises no conclusion follows. So, this is your fallacy. So, there are many questions in your book. You see different books, you will find all the fallacies there, and you try to solve all those questions. Thank you. Thank you, students.